What's up, everybody? It is Mr. and Mrs. Bradley back with another one. All right, everybody. So it's Mr. and Mrs. Bradley back with another video today. So today's video is brought to us by you guys.
We love it when you guys bring us questions. We have so much fun reading them and answering them because sometimes they're a little crazy, but we have so much fun reading them and answering them. So if you have a question or a topic that you would like us to address, make sure you head on over to our email address. It's always linked down below in the description box, and you can submit a question. You can also submit one over on Instagram at Bradley Party of 6. Also, make sure you're subscribed to our channel if you have not, and smash that like button if you guys love these videos.
Yes, all that good stuff, all of it. So let's get right into the question. I thought it was a very interesting question. It was actually emailed to us. I'm gonna grab my phone here. It was actually emailed to us, so I want to read it. Let me put this down here. Can a marriage survive infidelity? Whew.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
That's a good question.
I feel like we were actually going to do a video like this where we talked about infidelity, and like we have been talking about it, and you guys know we were very transparent and we tell you guys damn near everything about us. Like we feel like we're like an open book to an extent. And I have been flirting with it and asking her how she feel about it. And she's been saying like, oh, let's do it. Not that there's ever been any infidelity within our marriage, but beforehand, there was. So I feel like this is a good topic to attack.
It is a really good topic, and I think it's relevant because so many marriages, I mean, whether you're talking about celebrities that you see or even regular people, so many marriages go through this challenge. So many, and more than you probably even know. And so to talk about this and have open dialogue about this is really good. Can we fully answer that question? No, because we've never had infidelity within a marriage.
And every person is different, and every relationship
every person is different. That's another thing. So even if we did have infidelity in our marriage and our marriage survived, doesn't mean that yours will. You know, that's a breaking point for some people, for a lot of people. That's a breaking point in a relationship. So it really depends on you and your partner. I think it also depends on the magnitude of the indiscretion and how far it went after the single act. Like if it happened one time and you came home and were like, oh my God, I did this. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to do it. You know.
Didn't mean to do it.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, it happened. I'm so sorry. I'm confessing. I really want us to work. You know, I had a weak moment. I'm very sorry. I think that's a different story from a 2-year long affair. Now she calling my phone. You got a baby on the way. Like, I think that's a very different scenario. So it also depends on the magnitude of the indiscretion as well, in my opinion.
See, I always like when you talk about infidelity and you talk about cheating and that stuff. People, the catchphrase, I feel like when I was coming up was always like, oh, that could never happen to me, or I would never stay if that happened. And then it happens and you like, I love this person and I want to be with this person. So like, I don't think that's a yes or no answer. Like there's no yes or no.
You don't know what you would do.
Right.
Well, until you in that situation, you don't know what you do. That's kind of like when people used to talk about like 9/11. They'd be like, oh, all they had was knives on that plane. Man, if I was on that plane, we'd have did this and that. Girl, bye. Have a seat. Yeah. Like you don't know what you'll do until you're in a situation like that. You just don't. There's so many factors that play into it. Another thing I think is a lot of people feel like infidelity is the end all be all worst sin that you can do to another person in a relationship. And while it's pretty bad, it's up there, I think there are several other things that can be just as bad, if not worse, in a marriage or in a relationship. Like there are, like, if you were talking about abuse, or like, oh, he hits me but he don't cheat on me but he hits me, like, no, that don't make sense. So I mean it
don't make sense to you. I mean, abuse is abuse.
You're right. And that doesn't even just include physical abuse. That includes verbal abuse as well as sexual abuse. So I mean, I think it's just such a touchy question.
So let's talk about infidelity. So infidelity is the act of, like, obviously stepping outside of your relationship and having a sexual innuendo. Right. Well, that's what I was about to, infidelity. Right. That's what I was about to get into. That's what we classify it as. But, like, if I'm, like, having a conversation, like, if I'm having a conversation with a woman and she knows everything about my relationship, we never having something sexually. Like, I vent to her, I talk to her, like, a lot of women classify that as that's infidelity. Like, all my personal business being told to another woman.
I view cheating as anything that you cannot tell your partner. Anything that you're doing with somebody else that you cannot tell your partner. I mean, even if y'all just went to the movies together, like, or, you know, maybe nothing sexual happened, but y'all just went to the movies together, or you guys are having intimate conversations, or anything like that. Anything that you would not tell me that you're doing is cheating.
I love that. And that is one of the things that CC said to me early on within our relationship, not our marriage, our relationship, that what's the word? The word escapes me now. When you don't say something.
Omitting.
Oh, omission is just like cheating. If you can't tell me, then that's the same thing as cheating.
A lie by omission is still a lie. Either way.
Just because you didn't tell me that you went to the movies, or just because you didn't tell me, like, if it happened and you feel like, oh, I don't. If you think you can't tell the other person, then you probably shouldn't do it. If you can't say, hey, I went to lunch with this person, you probably shouldn't do it. Yep. Hey, I went to the movies with this person, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of people look at that stuff as like, oh, it was just lunch. It was just.
If it was just a walk, you would have said something.
Like, literally everything me and CC do at this point in our relationship, like, I'll call her now and be like, hey, I'm about to go out to, I'm going out to a lunch date with, or not lunch date, or lunch, I don't know, meeting with somebody. Like, I'm on my way there. I'm letting you know I'm going there. So if anything ever comes up, anybody ever say, I seen Mark with this chick, she already knows. There's nothing you can tell her because she already knows.
And I say the same thing, and it's not an insecurity thing. It's just more so I'm covering my bases. I never want my partner to feel insecure, because that can happen really fast. Just circumstances may look a certain way. Like, say I didn't say anything. Oh, it's a great example. It was one time when I worked at my previous place of employment. My ex worked there, and it was an ex from a long time ago, almost like a childhood friend, ex or whatever. And so I went to lunch. I was going to lunch, and he was kind of walking, and we just kind of ended up walking and talking, and we ended up grabbing something to eat and sitting down in the mall and talking. And as soon as I got back to my desk after that lunch, I'm like, you know, just in case anybody spotted me out, let me just call and say, hey, this is what I was doing. And it wasn't that I felt like I was doing anything wrong, or I felt like he was gonna be upset about it. But if somebody sees you out and they're like, hey, your wife was out sitting with some guy, you know, having lunch, and then I come back home and I try to explain it, and I'm like, yeah, my ex, I was sitting down having lunch with my ex, and it's kind of like, whoa,
sounds a little bit.
Wait, well, how did this happen? You know, it just sounds better coming from you.
Yeah. So let's dive. All right. So we talking around the question. Let's talk about infidelity within a marriage. Okay. So let's talk. We talking about sexual act. How do you think a relationship recovers or can recover from that?
Time. I think it takes time. One thing about people is that we can't take that things will take time sometimes.
Facts.
So if
Facts.
something were to happen, some sort of problem, something that maybe you messed up and you have to get over, we expect people to get over it ASAP, or we give them a week and we like, okay, this should be long enough. You should stop punishing me now. You should stop being upset. That's one thing. I think
Years.
it's time. Sometimes, I mean, for something like that, it would probably take, and I don't know, I'm speculating because I don't know, but I'm saying it would probably take about 6 months for me to just stop being angry. And that's not, we ain't even repaired anything yet. I'm just not angry anymore. Now I'm moving toward hurt or healing, and now we're trying to talk and see if this is something that we could even work out. Like that's just the reality of it. People grieve in different ways, and you have to give them their space in order to process things the way they process things.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. I feel like the person who committed the act, and the person who was on the other side of it, the person who committed the act, if you truly love that person, you have to understand, like, this ain't gonna take a week or a month or 6 months, 6 months to get over. Like, I had my infidelities, and I think that was years and years ago, before we was even married, and I think we just now able, within the past year or so, to ever talk about that, like, in a space.
No, it's been
a few years. A few. But I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. I think I think it was different because it was before we were married. I feel like once we got married, I feel like we kind of let all that stuff go.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of was like a cleansing. Like, okay, we are married. This is us. We are leaving all that behind us. But I mean, still.
But if you're within the marriage, I think that's a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially like it's women who, like, obviously you're talking about Dwayne Wade, who have a baby within a marriage.
Their break baby.
Yeah.
They weren't. No, they just said they were together. I don't think they were married at that time.
But still, you have a baby within a marriage. Like, that's like, I feel like
I don't feel like I can get over that. That's one thing I feel like I cannot get over. Like, I would just, and it's not the baby's fault. And you can't treat an innocent baby that way. But I would feel a type of way towards that baby, and I don't think I'd be able to get over that. That's something I think I can say. I don't think I'd be able to get over that.
I mean, that's a lot. That is a whole lot. Because not only is it like you can't ever like get over, like, it's one thing to think about your person having a sexual act with somebody else. That's already rough. But this is the everyday reminder that you went out and did this.
A daily reminder. Not only is the baby a daily reminder, but then the other person is now in your life as well. And it's too much. It's too much. Yeah. I can't do it. It's too much.
I think bringing the whole question full circle, honestly, like I said, I think a big thing is understanding that it's going to take more than just a day, a week, a month, a year to get past this. Like, it's going to take some time, and it can't be a forced element. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, I've been good for the past 3 months. Because I used to do that. Like, I've been on my shit for like 3-4 months. Why you still tripping on that bullshit? That shit behind us. That was 4 months ago. Like, you can't act like that.
I'm liable to cut you. Something like that to me. But no, seriously, it takes time. But then once you get over the anger and you're ready to start healing, if that's the route you want to go and you do want to repair your marriage, first of all, I would never tell anyone to give up on their marriage, but I would also never tell anyone to continue to stay where you don't feel appreciated and you continue to get disrespected. So you have to make that decision for yourself if that's something that you even want to move forward with. And if you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to heal, I want to move forward, I think you also have to ask yourself the hard questions, or ask your partner the hard questions, like, well,
Why?
how did this happen?
I was just about to say
Where,
that.
Where did the cracks start? So we can start repairing from that point. Because just to glaze over it and be like, okay, well, it's over, it's been 6 months, I'm over it, we're just not going to talk about it again because it's too painful, that doesn't help anyone. It's not going to help the relationship. It's probably going to happen again because you haven't gotten to the root of the problem.
Yep. I was just about to say that. Like I was about to say, I'm going to say something that's pretty controversial, but I think it needs to be addressed. And that's exactly that. Like, I feel like if you, within every win, because that's I play football. My coach would say, within every W, you still got things you can improve upon. And then obviously within every L, which obviously I would classify something like that in a relationship as an L, you got a lot to learn from. But if you don't learn from it, then you just gonna make the same mistakes again moving forward. So you have to be like mature enough within your marriage to be able to ask that person, like, what made you do this? Why did you do this? And be able to, especially if you want to move forward, because you want to be able to like move on past it so the same mistakes doesn't happen again. Maybe. And not saying that, I always feel like I got to put a precursor out there. Not saying that this is right for him or her to go and do that, but maybe they didn't feel heard, or maybe they didn't feel loved, or maybe they didn't get, I don't know, the sexual acts in which they wanted from another person, or they feel like they could express themselves. Like, and this is a way to have a conversation off of that, and you have to look at it in that sense. Once you're able to get to that point of healing, like, okay, like, all right, I'm done being angry, I'm done being mad, I'm done being upset. How do we move forward from this?
And I think also distinguishing if this person is willing to acknowledge their own stuff also, because sometimes you have some people that they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of what you do, how much sex you give them. You could give them money, buy them gifts, you could do whatever, but this person's going to do what they're going to do because that's what they want to do. So you have to also look at this person objectively and look at the situation objectively, which is very hard because you're in it, but you have to somehow look at the situation objectively and ask yourself those questions, like, is this person willing to do the work so we can move forward? Does this person seem like they're really sorry? Does this person seem like they're really like is this hurting them that I'm hurt? Or are they just ready to get over with and move forward so they can continue to do what they was doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? So you got to make that determination as well and look at that other person and also look and see, is this person really wanting to make changes? Are they really going to take the steps needed in order to not make the same mistake again? And if you don't feel like they are, don't continue to keep yourself in a messed up situation.
At the end of the day, your marriage is your marriage. And only you and your other partner knows how it works best. But like she said, if you don't see the value in moving and staying there, I would say no, the marriage cannot survive infidelity. So that's gonna wrap it for this. That was a great topic. I really enjoyed talking about that. Again, like she said earlier in the video, if you guys got any questions, topics that you want us to attack, please email us or shoot us a DM on Riley Party of 6 Instagram. All right, we would love to address that stuff moving forward. All right. So into the next video is Mr.
and Mrs. Bradley
checking out. Peace.